Good day. I'm Michael Fisher. I'm here to talk about AI and we'll see where it goes. Artificial intelligence and kind of a rant, you could say, that this will be, but I'm not going to just go slaughtering AI because that would be ridiculous. It is something about intelligence and it is about something that humans have produced, and that means there's a creative aspect to it and a useful aspect to it, no doubt. We are part of creation. And at the same time, we are also a species that's known to create things that are quite out of whack, out of harmony with the natural principles of this world. And I mean natural and spiritual principles of this world. In other words, you got to sort of stick to your maker in the design and in the properties of which it wants you to operate and is actually designed you to operate in. When you try to do things that you're not designed for, you're going to get into messes. And that's what AI is heading us down that track because it is a machine. It is a machine that carries a lot of extraction from human hard work, knowledge, wisdom, and it puts it into huge language models and then attempts to look like it's intelligent and wise and compassionate. But it's not. It's only a model, and it's a machine model. So AI, I'm not against you. I'm not against people using AI, but today's talk is about one, two, three, or four examples I can think of. I'll just walk through them of what I'm watching, what's happening to human beings that I know who more or less, some I know less, some I've known for a long time and are close colleagues or have been, and how it's AI is disrupting my relationship with these people. And it's disrupting it in significant ways where I don't want to be around those people. Um, and I can only sort of see that the reason, or the main reason, I don't want to be around them, and I've challenged them, which I'll talk about how to challenge people who are addicted to AI as I'm talking, or who have been AI'd, or when I get AI'd by friends, colleagues, people without my permission to be AI'd. I'll get into all those definitions. So yeah, there's been real deep injury and disruption and rupture in relationships because I watch what happens to a human being of a certain kind, of course, and not all, but probably most. This is happening to. So you may have some people in your life that you have felt like you're drifting away from them, or you don't even really want to be. You don't really like how they're changing, their behaviors are changing because of their relationship with AI in the last 6 months. Yeah, could be longer than that, but yeah, really, last 6 months, AI has come on absolute everywhere, kind of available, free, etc. So you know what I mean. It's like the personal computer when it came out. It just became so available, and so many people got into it that it just really changed people's relationships to each other, to the world, to their own self. Yeah, changes your relationship to yourself. So be prepared. I'm going to kind of go after you having a relationship with AI. And for some people, that's sort of becoming a love affair. And so I'm kind of going after your love affair. So I don't expect you to really, some of you anyway, to like what I'm going to say today. Yeah, nobody likes to be criticized on who you're having a love relationship. Nobody likes to be criticized that maybe you're too in love with your dog or your cat, or yeah, nobody likes that kind of critique. But I say it, and if I see it and I see a neuroses, I see a dysfunction, I see an addiction, uh, I'm going to call it out and do that as compassionately as I can, both with them and with in this video today. I'm not here to be a smart ass and say everybody else is doing something wrong and I'm doing it all right. Well, let me start with a dear friend for a long time. Not that we've hung out a lot together. It's mostly a computer, generated machine world internet relationship with, but I have met them in person a few times. Actually spent some time at their place in, well, basically a really nice retreat center space, and gotten to know them a little bit. I don't want to name names at this point on anybody, and I'm still considering about what the ethics is of that and what my public relationship ought to be when I am a cultural critic, I am a cultural psychiatrist, etc., making comments about the world and the psychiatric condition of a world that I think is in deep trouble. And I want to hopefully contribute to us analyzing that critically and better. So this individual, again, we've co-written together as colleagues. They are intellectual, they're a scholar, very well recognized in their field, etc., etc. Won't go on and on. What I watched, and they're in their late 70s, end of their career, very successful career, absolutely. Really got onto AI early, a year ago maybe, and then sort of the last 6 months really heavily got introduced to it and got supported by some young persons to get into it even deeper, and that would help advance their work and get it out to the world and more bigger, bigger, better, bigger, better. Well, this individual got, in my view, they asked me about it and they asked me what my view was, and I gave them my view and was critical. And without going into all the details, they chose to go ahead with a full on kind of engagement with a chat box kind of combination relationship, websites, Substacks, and maybe their career is improving. Maybe they're getting their good work out there, which is good work generally. I approve of for sure. And having known this person, studied their work very carefully for a long time. Yeah, 17 years. I watched their behavior change. I watched when I challenged certain things that they were writing or sharing. AI assisted often, and not always in their work. And I just watched and I went, I feel like I'm talking now to an addict, a workaholic. And I didn't always recognize that. I knew the person was incredibly hardworking, and many academics are workaholics. Of course, you don't have to be an academic to be a workaholic, but many of them are, and that's who I'm, hanging around with mostly. I'm in potentially in that camp myself, but I have a lot of discernment, thankfully, about when work starts driving people so into ideas, so into research and promoting and educating and promoting, right? Bigger and better, get your ideas out there, spread them more because they're so important, and the world's in such a mess, it needs your ideas. And I can get into that. I'm of that world. I am of that. I've been that for decades, that kind of a teacher too, so a researcher. I know the lust of it. I know the attraction of it, the seduction. And so what I noticed is this is an old person who is starting to lose memory, starting to repeat themselves more, starting to have difficulty understanding things. I've noticed that over the last several years. I have some of those features too, but not as intense as I had noticed with this individual. And so extremely bright, but losing faculties. And then I saw them get onto AI and they just like work harder, and AI supports them to work harder, faster, and have more impact quicker. They don't have to do so much research, and AI remembers stuff that they forget. And so, right, artificial intelligence assisted. When you're going through brain and cognitive decline because you're getting old and it's natural to go through that decline, It's very seductive for old men, who I'm mostly talking about today, to attach to a machine that will do all this cognitive work for you and much faster than you can do it in many cases. And then you can just summarize, take the AI summary and put it out there and publish and whatever. It's a dangerous mixture of lure, to support, especially also if you feel lonely. But my point being is when I challenge these individuals, and there's a couple of them in their 80s or near late 70s, 80, early 80, one's in late 80s and has become addicted as well to AI and wants to have these long chats with and customize their conversations with an AI chat box of some kind and many other kinds. And they send me stuff. But my first friend that I was talking about, the problem I really hit him on was he took one of these abstracts that I had written for a paper I was thinking of writing, took that abstract, maybe 200 words, and ran it through an AI generated program to enhance the abstract. In other words, to rewrite it, to edit it. But in doing that, they shared my information, my original work, with a machine system that is hooked up to a massive corporate system, which now has access to that piece of work without my permission. It's a no-no. It's an absolute unethical no-no to do that with an original piece of work. But this individual, who respects me a lot, defended themselves with all kinds of reasons and accused me of being fearful of AI. And I better get over it. And on and on. Some of their comments got so nasty, and I was very strong, of course, coming back, but I wasn't attacking them. But they felt attacked when I went after his girlfriend. That's what I call it. This great helper, this perfect gift from the machine world, in a way, to support them to be more effective and efficient and keep their youth. And I know this person loves tools, loves toys, loves the bells and whistles, loves fast cars, loves fast women in their past. I mean, all of this is just the pattern of hyper steroidal male power. And it's a dangerous combination, even for the most intelligent and people who are very wise and compassionate otherwise. They start losing their humanity, to be blunt. And that's really the theme of this critique today. Then I met another person, and our relationship is now pretty much crashed. Um, and I won't go into that, but I met another person years and years ago, again, next, very spiritual person, committed, very community centered, very compassionate for life and improvement of life on this planet. And they were very respectful of me as well. And they got into AI, and now they've made AI like a best friend. Everything they send me has got AI in it. And I keep saying, I'm not interested. And they cannot stop sending it to me. Another piece, a next piece. I say, I'm not interested. I've told you this before. Do not bother even sending it to me. I'm not reading it. And they still keep sending it. See, it's exactly what happens to this first friend and the second friend and colleague, both of them, is they stop listening to the human. They're so enamored and inured and really in a trance with their relationship to what AI can produce for them, giving them power, giving them power they didn't have. And when they're having cognitive decline, and they both are, I've seen it in them, and it's a boost, right? So they basically saying, don't attack and don't diss my new girlfriend, as I like to call it. I get it. I get it. but I am challenge you. You're losing your humanity, and you're losing your capability to listen and to listen to me. And I'm only speaking this because I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there in the world. When they hear this video, they'll go, yeah, I've kind of noticed that too with some people. They stop paying as much and are not as clear in attending to the human intelligence that's talking to them or writing to them because they're so enamored in this other world of faster, bigger, better. Well, this dehumanization of technology taking humans and moving us at a fast pace, at a faster and faster pace, has destroyed enormous abilities to communicate with each other and with other beings, nature itself. Technology is on that trip, and it goes with capitalism, it goes with power, gain, and it's just the grossest thing I've ever had to experience, and certainly the last few decades, is watching this happen to people who are really, really intelligent. I've really lost faith in even the most intelligence that I see in some humans, quite mature people. And I'm going, wow, they are not integrated enough to resist this lure. So again, I'm talking about men particularly, which I'm watching, and I've just said they're more susceptible, especially when they're getting older, to try and keep their youthful power and capacities to produce and spread the word and get out more and get more knowledge. Workaholics. I'm convinced of it. And they don't like to be called out. No addict likes to be called out. And they'll defend themselves and they'll keep at their drink. They'll keep at their addiction, their girlfriend, over you, over everyone, more or less. So that's the disturbing news. And then I'll give one more example. And you can certainly have discussion with me below. I'd be curious of some examples you have, and you can play with some of my theory and thinking about it. But you can hear I'm kind of theorizing on the connective addiction trance-like hypnotism that goes on in hooking up with this new machine intelligence. And basically, anyone who hooks up with something called artificial intelligence is already telling me that they're already off. They've already gone off the rails of staying in tune with the real, of the natural and spiritual world, which I started with. When we get off that track, we're going to go into big troubles because we're going to be disconnecting more or less with the real. And that's the power of AI, is basically saying, it's advertising we are artificial intelligence. And I go, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. I'm probably not going to be that interested in you because you're artificial. The world does not need more artificial of anything. I'm sad that we went down as far as we've gone down the road of artificialness, from artificial plants to artificial blah, blah, blah. Okay, some things, artificial limbs are nice to have for people and so on as prostheses. Great. So again, I'm not trying to be a completely anti-technology person here. I'm using it. What I ran into recently was writing an abstract again as an original thinker for a publication that was advertised. Came through the emails and somebody passed it on to me, and I said, okay, yeah, I'm all right for that. So I write this, abstract, which I was interested to do this chapter on in these encyclopedias, higher education. This editor, senior editor, was promoting. This was somewhere, I think, in Syria or overseas somewhere. And I didn't know the person, but so I send my abstract in, and day later I get this response. So I'm talking again, 250 word, maybe 300 word abstract. I get this letter, dear Dr. Fisher, da da da. We really are glad to get your submission. Yes, we accept it. We think this, and then the letter, it just kept going. for 2.5 pages almost, paragraph after paragraph of glowing remarks summarizing and integrating the words, concepts, languages from my 250 word abstract. So, I mean, it's nice to get all that, you know, heading on my ego of how wonderful this chapter was and how it would change, higher education. And this is so needs to be out in the world. And, paragraph after paragraph, like I'm getting 2 page response to 250 word abstract. I haven't even accepted that I would do it. And I go, a human did not write this letter. No editor would write a letter that's 7 times longer than the abstract they received. Just to say, this is a good piece of work. We accept you and please submit. You see, this was like way over the top in how wonderful I was as a writer, researcher, thinker. Way over the top, way too big, way too fast. I got it within one day. Unheard of for editors to be that fast. You see, again, it's weird. And so I challenged this editor after I realized this is AI generated. Okay, maybe he read the abstract, this editor, and maybe he liked it. I don't doubt that he liked it. But then he throws it into AI for a letter response that he doesn't have to write. May have tweaked it. Again, I'm not positive that it was AI generated, and I'm not positive this is what happened. So I wrote him and said, well, thank you for the letter, but this feels AI generated. And what I'm really ethically concerned about is you took my original abstract writing and threw it into an AI generator so that you could produce a letter of response to accept my submission and glow up my ego, push me up, inflate the whole project of my chapter out of reality, out of touch. It's so artificial. I was annoyed the more I thought about it, as I was annoyed and am annoyed with what's happening with my workaholic friends. And so I pushed this editor, and I'll finish the story. And in that letter, and he finally responded to my challenge. I says, "Did you da da da?" Well, it took 2 or 3 letters, and it took 2 or 3 weeks, 2 weeks or so, before this editor could actually write me a response to my critique of what he had done. And then he finally sort of admits it after I had to push it in with another. Well, tell me exactly, did you do this or did you not? Enter my abstract in an AI generator. And he still hasn't answered that question, even after sending me 2 more emails. He goes on and on about, well, we're not doing this with AI and we respect authors. And, it was just like this, lots of rationalization, lots of reasonable points he was making. So he cared, but he cannot understand and he can't realize how dehumanizing and unethical it is to take a person's piece of original work without asking permission and run it through an AI generated response system. Just ask me, do I want it? And I would say no. You respond to it. You're an editor. That's how we've always done it. That's how I want it done. And if you take the time and care to do that, I'll take the time and care to produce that chapter for you, which I'm giving you for free. Yeah, that's what academics do. We do a ton of service for free. I don't have a faculty job where I get a huge paycheck every 2 weeks or a month. I do this because I care about the work. I care about the integrity and the ethicality of the work I do. And I try to live and practice that. And I demand in some way, soft demand, that others also come up to that standard of just some really good general ethical, integral, integrated practices that are healthy for humanity so that we treat each other respectfully. And he did not. He tried to talk me back into, please, we'd like to have you come back. We appreciate your concerns. But then he still didn't answer my question, still hasn't. And I just basically said, no, thanks. I'm withdrawing my application. So you get the picture, folks. Bad combination is going on. I call it the dangerous, nasty cocktail of AI, old age, especially men, and workaholics at the same time. And that combination is making for really disturbing human behavior. At one level, you'd go, well, that person's still a good person. I go, yeah, sure, they probably still are. I'm not putting them down as not a good person. I'm just saying their behaviors are changing, like with any addict, and the addiction is getting exacerbated by AI generated practices and what it's doing to their need, their ego's need for more and more, faster, more power. And what they don't realize is that power corrupts, is corrupting them. And these are people that have high integrity. Otherwise, I'm sure, the editor, I'm not so sure, this final editor, but my colleagues, you see, it's so subtle and they're so defensive. So all three of them I found were they cannot hear the critique and they cannot respond to you as if you feel you're being heard. And that to me, when you put that with the combination of them transgressing my originality of my work, and I'm saying, no, you just crossed a barrier. You just transgressed a confidentiality and originality of an author or an artist, whatever it is, you transgress that because you're addicted to that machine. I'm not. But they'll defend it, you see. And they're basically then saying, you should be. You should come on to the AI stream. Come on. That's why they keep sending me. This one guy, he just keeps sending me because he's trying to convince me this will be better for me and my work. And he even said that. This would be really good for you. You'd really, your work would get out there a lot more. Yeah, don't tell me what you're doing and that I should be doing what you're doing. That's a real quick way to lose a friendship, a colleague, and trust and social trust. And that's the danger, isn't it? We're losing social trust in these machines and everything behind what AI stands for. And I won't go into all the critiques of AI and the corporations, the environmental damage they're causing. I've made my point. They are undermining in my real experiential world daily. And now I've had 4 incidents or so in the last 6 months. It's sad. It's sad to watch, but I wanted to speak to that today to maybe let all of you and maybe some others will find some usefulness in this critique. Thanks for listening today.